Alrighty, so after spending the better part of an hour or maybe even two looking over some of the reviews and stuff for that of the game that I currently play, the Seven Deadly Sins Grand Cross, I thought it would be kind of interesting to look at some of the more interesting ones and kind of talk about or maybe even agree with some of the problems of the game, which honestly, the game isn't honestly in a terrible spot at the moment. I currently feel like the game is doing pretty good, but obviously there are still concerns that have not been met, and I just thought it was kind of interesting to kind of go through and look at some of the negative reviews or even just some of the reviews that were kind of concerning about the game. So without further ado, the game is currently sitting at roughly a little over 4 stars. I don't remember if there's an actual way for it to tell you how many stars the game has unless you just look up the game, but yeah, it's like I would say it's at like a 4.1, 4.2 stars out of 5, which is honestly pretty decent. So I've picked out a handful of comments that I kind of want to go over and look at. The first of which being this one here. Your game is amazing. I've said this a lot now, but still your drop rates are crazy harsh. I had to go the full 900 to get Green Zeldris and only got him from the 900 selector. Now Bon is out, 360 diamonds in and not even close. I've spent money on this game that I don't and didn't have, and not one Purgatory Bond pull. Come on, Netmarble. Help me out here, please. I have made friends pick up this game and play. Still the best mobile RPG on the platform. So, 2 concerns here. One is this one right here. I've spent money on this game that I don't have and didn't have, and not one Purgatory Bond pull. One big thing about these gacha games is they are meant to make money for the company. The biggest thing to note is that even if you spend money, the rates do not change. I want to make that very clear. Just because you spend money on this game does not mean they're going to favor you any more than the free-to-play diamonds that you could have just grinded out. That is one of the biggest reasons why obviously the game would be insanely pay to win, even more than it already is, if they made it to where paid diamonds gave you better rates or anything like that. And there are games out there that have like paid only banners and stuff like that where the rates are slightly increased, and I do not agree with that whatsoever. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. So first and foremost, just be aware it is a huge gamble on whether or not you're going to get a character regardless of whether you spent money. So be very careful and don't spend money you don't have. But yeah, honestly, I picked this one out mainly for this right here, that your drop rates are crazy harsh. I had to go all the way to the 900 mark to get Green Zeldris, and even then he says he had to use the 900 selector. I feel this a lot, actually. If you've been a part of the channel for a while, you'll know that the last 3 festivals, excluding the Bond one, I did finally get lucky on Bond's banner. All of those festivals, I had to go all the way to the 900 mark just to get the new festival character, which is very disappointing. It kind of sucks. Not that that's like, it just happens. The game is luck based. There's obviously a % chance on each character on whether or not you're going to be able to pull them or not. So it's not like it's the game's fault, but you have to think about, the game has a 3% rate. And on festival banners, it's a 4% rate. But there's a lot of characters in each banner, and the rates of the rated up heroes really aren't even that much better than the regular heroes. It's like a 0.2% chance to pull a character, like any particular character, and then it's like a 0.25% rate chance to pull one of the festival characters, which I understand. Festival characters need to be rarer. They're really good units, etc. But it's hard to play a game where you really can't grind out 900 gems very easily, and that is the requirement basically to make sure that you get one of the new characters. And these are characters that you basically gonna need if you want to compete in PvP. A lot of them are pretty good for PvE content as well. It's very disappointing to have to go spend your entire sum of 900 gems that you either grinded out really hard for or you spent a lot of money on, because the good lord, the packs in this game are pretty expensive. expensive. Like, I really do think to myself sometimes when I buy packs in this game, like, hey, should I just go buy a game on Steam and play that instead? Because I might have, you know, more fun out of that than I would summoning on this one banner. So yeah, you got to be very careful. They really do need to increase the rates. This is the only reason that I picked this one out, is because I would literally say 80 to 90% of the comments on these reviews are just buff the rates. The rates need to be buffed. If you've been to the PvP arena on global in the past little while, the number one ranked PvP guy changed his name to Buff SSR Rates, just because he is literally the number one, and it shows his name on the plaque in the Visel Fight Festival. And there's a reason why everyone is complaining about the rates. It's because 3% is really, really harsh, especially with there being so many characters in this game now, and a lot of the times they end up putting crappy ones on the banners. So that is that comment. Next one is Honest Review. It's a really nice game, especially for the ones that saw the show. Even free to play, you can play the game pretty good. Problem is there is but it's grindy. Game felt almost like a job. You need to spend a lot of time to farm all of the things and to do all the quests, etc. It's more like a PC game than a phone one, and for me, that's the issue. Mobile games should be a little less, should be with less time and would be with less investing time, not otherwise, where you have to spend 3 hours almost daily, if not more. So I don't have too much of an issue with this one per se, mainly for the fact that I play this game on PC. If I had to play this game on my phone for 3 hours a day, I would be very disappointed, just like this guy kind of is. I honestly think this game would benefit so greatly from a PC port, because not only, you know, not everybody has the newest iPhone or Samsung Galaxy whatever, or, you know, I have a Google Pixel 3. Not everybody has the luxury of having one of these really nice phones, and although, you know, you pick and choose what game you play, this game has really, really good graphics and stuff like that, and boy oh boy will this game destroy your battery life on your phone. That is one of the biggest reasons why I had always played this game on the PC, is just because it doesn't feel like a phone game to me. It feels like I'm playing an MMO that I kind of need to sink a lot of time into and stuff like that, and I definitely understand it. If I played this game on the phone, I would want things to be way faster paced. You know, I wouldn't want to be spending, you know, hours and hours on this game, because honestly, I'd have to put my phone on the charger about 30 times a day. So yeah, I don't know. I've said it 1,000 times in the past, but a PC port of this game, just like having it available, would be fantastic. I know that that's probably more time and effort than Netmarble would want to set aside to do something like that for this game, but I honestly think the game would benefit from it very, very greatly. Plus, you know, there was a lot of reviews that I was reading where people were like, oh, like I keep getting disconnected, my game crashes, you know, I get lagged out of matches, the game closes back to the title screen, etc. And I honestly think it's because they're either playing on like an older phone, or maybe their connection isn't great when they're playing or whatever. And that's what I like about playing on my computer, is that, you know, my connection is stable because I'm on a computer, which honestly, you know, you could still have connection issues with a computer. That's not going to fix the entire thing, but computers in general are going to have much better hardware more than likely, and they would be able to run the game a lot better as well. So I don't know, honestly, it wouldn't be like a concrete solution to all of those problems, but I honestly think that the game would be so much better with a PC port. That was basically the reason why I picked this one out. Moving on, for being a second anniversary, there's not a lot of gifts or missions to grant you diamonds, too much, or to summon for the new characters, and even if you did, the rates are too low, so I feel like I'm being robbed of my money and the effort I put into the game. So this one is pretty self-explanatory. Although the game is really good about doing festivals and giving out a lot of free like event materials and stuff like that, whether it be like awakening materials, super awakening coins, pendants, whatever the case may be, more often than not, they don't really give out a lot of summons. This guy is talking about the second anniversary, and I have to agree. To some extent, I do love the fact that they came out with the seasonal banner for the second anniversary, and they gave players a ton of free tickets to summon for characters that aren't available all year round, and I think that was fantastic. But honestly, If you were super hyped about about the second anniversary and you wanted Purgatory Bond, none of those tickets or the events in general are really going to give you anything close to what you would want to help summon on that banner. You pretty much had to have already grinded out a whole lot of diamonds and stuff like that prior to the banner for you to even really want to be able to summon on it. Like obviously they do, the boss battle events and stuff like that, where it's like, hey, if you run this thing 20 times in a week, we'll give you 5 diamonds or whatever. That's fine. Like, I mean, that's cool. Those are 5 diamonds that we didn't have beforehand, but they don't give out enough diamonds per festival events and stuff like that for you to actually be able to summon on the current banner. It's more often than not like, hey, here's some special missions where we give you 1 free multi, which is not a lot. I mean, you can absolutely just easily get shafted on 1 multi and pull 0 SSRs or even 0 SRs. So yeah, that was kind of my big deal with this one. Is honestly, like, I do like what they did with the 2nd year anniversary. I like that they gave out a bunch of free seasonal tickets. That was cool, but that doesn't help the players who are wanting to summon on the main festival banner. And they wanted to get either Bon or Escanor. So, those are 2 characters that are very, very meta relevant right now in PvP. Escanor is absolutely insane for PvE. Bon is also very good in certain PvE scenarios as well. So, I mean, although, certain ones of those, seasonal characters are good for PvE stuff, like, Jenna and Zenari, and, some of those characters are good for, like, fighting, demons and stuff like that to give you extra materials and stuff. But you also have to not only summon for those characters, but you have to buy a special costume for them, so that way you get the bonus effect or whatever the case may be. And those outfits aren't even available all year round, from my understanding. Like, they literally brought those the costumes back during this event, so that way you could be able to buy them, so that way you could get your stuff. And it's so crazy and hectic around these festivals and stuff like that, and they need to ease the burden on the players when these festivals come out, or else it just seems like a chore more than a celebration. So I don't know, just my 2 cents on that one. You may not agree, but that was why I picked this one. Here we go. This game are so beautiful, but the issues is why Estarossa of Love is hard to defeat even when you are too much stronger your team than this hero. You can't win. Big disappointing. And I always want to play this game, but it's so annoying. This game are not equal. You can't win. Even your heroes are much stronger than the enemy. So if you weren't able to glean what he's getting off here, is, if I'm not mistaken, he's literally talking about the one stage, well, I think it's actually 2 stages back to back, where you fight Estarossa, and I think it's chapter 11 of the story. There are very few, but they are very relevant story missions that are insanely harder than the rest of the missions, and it's basically just because of, like, the amount of required heroes that you have to have. So if I'm not mistaken, I don't think I had too much of an issue with the Estarossa ones, but obviously some players might, because it depends on what characters you have in your box. I think it would be a bit easier today if you were to just add people that you end up playing with or whatever. You might be able to use some of their recommended units or something. I'm sure the one Escanor would probably end up destroying Estarossa, but I haven't tried that out enough to actually guarantee that or confirm that. So just be aware, I'm just talking, out loud here. But there are certain quests in the story that are just overly annoying for no reason. Like, I literally have one story chapter guide, and it's for like 119 or something like that, because it's literally a chapter where you have to use one of your own heroes, and then the other 3 heroes are required to be a Hauser unit, a Gilthunder unit, and a Gustav unit, which there's only one Gustav, so you literally have to use that one. And then the Gilthunder and the Hauser unit honestly don't matter too much, because they don't really help the team very much. So it's literally a means of you having to bring one character that's good enough to carry those other 3 useless units through this mission. And I just thought this one was kind of relatable. Some of the story missions can be really tough, especially for newer players and stuff like that. Like, I couldn't imagine rushing all the way through to chapter 11 and just absolutely getting trashed on by Estarossa or some of the other missions. It felt, relatable, I guess. Next up, the character too broken and the old character never get buff after the release of the 1. Whatever would have been better, we need buff for the old unit because the new one are too strong. I believe in this. This is something that I do agree with. Basically, what he's saying is new characters are really strong. Old characters are getting massively phased out, and I see this every day. I mean, every time a new, festival unit comes out or whatever, the meta completely changes, and it makes that many more teams unusable in PvP because they're just not cutting it anymore. And I mean, I've definitely gotten feedback on talking about this in the past, and I definitely understand that it is a, it's a pay, well, not really pay to win, but it's a system where new characters come out and they want you to summon on new banners and stuff, for them to make money, etc. And obviously old units aren't going to last forever. There's power creep, etc. But it would just be nice. I know it's not the most liked system in the world, but Dragon Ball Legends did a system, and I'm pretty sure Dokkan has a system like this as well, but I don't know exactly how it works because I don't play Dokkan. But there was a system where they would basically, like, every couple of updates or so, they would pick one specific unit and they would basically make it to where you could almost like over invest into them. So not only would they be maxed out from you just like working on the hero, but they would make it to where they had like a special boost that you could invest into and work on the character even more to make them sort of like jump up to par with some of these newer characters and stuff like that. And I don't necessarily agree with that system specifically because if I'm not mistaken, it was super, super grindy and kind of annoying to even work on the characters and stuff like that. But if they would just make some sort of system or put something in place to where you could buff old units, whether it be just freely buffing old units or just making you have to invest a little bit into the character to make them sort of, bridge the gap. I think it would be nice to see some of these older units become meta relevant again. And every so often, some of these new characters come out that makes old characters relevant, like the new Purgatory Bond. A lot of people are running Twigo, which is hilarious because he's been in the game the entire time, and he's just a lowly little rare unit. And I think that's cool, but 99% of the characters that come out are not going to do that, and 99% of the characters that would be good on a team aren't good enough to actually invest into and like try on the team because one, it would be a waste of your materials, and two, they're probably going to give you lackluster results. So that was basically the reason why I picked that one out. Last one. I hope developers see this comment. I love all of your games. Everything seemed to be good, but I found the shoddy one is the overwhelmed character in PvP. This is the one thing that's truly unequal in game. I've paid in the game in sum of money, but when I found overwhelming guys, they so overpower in normal PvP. So I hope the normal PvP will not count ultimate and costume. I expect that player in normal PvP will use they pure skills. Sincerely. So basically the gist of what he's saying is he doesn't think that ult levels and cosmetics should apply in ungeared PvP. And I've talked about this with a friend of mine whenever he used to play the game, and he had basically the same sentiment, and I completely agree with it. I think normal PvP should be as baseline as possible. I don't really think that, ult levels, well, I don't know, you really can't lump in ult levels at all if you really want it to be as flatline as possible, but I think that you should just be able to, I hate to bring back Dragon Ball Legends again, but Dragon Ball Legends added a game mode where it was basically like, hey, you can join this PvP mode, and whatever team you bring in will automatically max those characters out to the absolute limit that they can be, so that way you can play this on an even ground with whoever that you go against. It's an unranked mode, if I'm not mistaken, so it's literally just for fun, just for trying out team comps and stuff like that. And I think that this game needs something like that. You know, you can obviously do like friend battles or whatever, and that's pretty much the closest that you can get, but there's no way for you to just queue up against random people in hopes that you're just going to have like a fun and interesting match, because more often than not, they're just going to bring the meta units, and, you know, if they have their cosmetics maxed out, or if you're using just random units that you wanted to try a team comp out, you're probably not going to have the cosmetics and stuff like that for them owned, let alone maxed out, or their ultimate levels. If they're old units, maybe you have them maxed out, but you know, it feels like there should be some sort of game mode that's very baseline, you know, sort of play the game mode and just have fun. It's not meant to be like a sweaty try hard fest where I've got better, you know, I've got higher CC than you, so you lose, whatever the case may be. I don't know. I just thought this was, you know, this is a really good idea that the game could implement, and I think a lot of people would have a lot of fun. Whether or not they, you know, they could even make it a new mode. They don't have to, you know, tweak normal PvP. They could make just an unranked, like off-meta sort of playlist that you can play in or something like that, like a whole separate PvP mode. But I don't know. I've always thought it was kind of bizarre that normal PvP is like, hey, you know, you don't use gear at all in this PvP mode, but your costumes and upgrading your costumes and your ult level and, you know, whatever the case may be, like your associations and stuff like that, they matter. Like, it seems weird that you would take out one of the biggest things that contribute to your unit and still keep in some of the lower things, instead of just making it like a baseline sort of game mode. So I don't know. Honestly, I think that they really should make a PvP mode like this. I think a lot of people would really love it. People already love the PvP aspect of this game. They love playing PvP, and a lot of people get turned off by the fact that it's so meta driven. It's so like one-sided whenever it comes to like higher tier PvP play. Like if you're not spending your money and you don't have a 6/6 Bond who's immediately gonna ult rush and wipe your team in 2 seconds, you better not play PvP, boy. I don't know. It's a turnoff to some players, and I think this would help ease the burden of just having like a fun mode that people can try team comps out. They can just play without having to be super sweaty, and just enjoy the game and have fun in PvP instead of it being so like win or cry. I don't know. That's pretty much just my 2 cents on it. That was the last review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed me looking at some of the off-meta, or off-meta, some of the more unspoken issues maybe of the game. I don't know. Some of you may agree with a lot of these concepts. Some of you may disagree. I completely understand. But it's just kind of what my overall analysis of the situation was. And you know, obviously these reviews change every day. Some of these people may be just letting off steam because they played the game for 5 minutes and they hated it, so some of these negative reviews might not even be worth the time to read. But you know, there are concerns of the game. There's obviously, the game is never going to be in a perfect spot. There's always improvements that could be made, and they're always going to be adding new things that might be good for the game or be bad for the game. So it's interesting to see what people's takes on that are. So that's pretty much it from me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to subscribe for more content in the future, and I will see you guys in the next video.